You know what really grinds my gears? You.
Metro City.
Fuck you.
Megamind, the absolute masterpiece of a movie that showed us just how important and how vital the bald community truly is to not only our society but to our hearts. The movie helps to crush the stereotype that bald people are just big bad spooky individuals and helps to show another side to bald people that truly isn't shown enough in the media. It truly is such an important part of human history. So in today's video I'm going to be going over the absolute masterpiece that is Megamind. Megamind was the 21st movie released by the iconic animation studio DreamWorks, who are responsible for creating so many cinematic masterpieces. Now this movie is no different to other DreamWorks movies in the casting of it. Like, the casting of this movie is very star-studded and is like very iconic. So first of all, we've got Will Ferrell as Megamind, the bald god himself. We've then got Jonah Hill as Hal/Titan. Now I just want to take a moment to appreciate Jonah Hill. I think Jonah Hill is such a good actor, and like Superbad is like one of my favourite movies of all time because I'm a very basic bitch. And I also love the fact that Jonah Hill has beef with Matthew Morrison. Like, I just think that's so funny. But anyway, let's just continue. Then we've got Brad Pitt as Metro Man, Tina Fey as Roxanne, and the iconic man that is David Cross as Minion. However, we've also got like kind of smaller cameos of very famous like celebrities in this movie, such as Ben Stiller as Bernard. But can we just take a moment to appreciate the absolute icon that is David Cross, right? Like, can we just take a moment? This man has been in so many cinematic masterpieces. He has given us so many gifts of cinema, and that isn't even to mention the fact that he is also a bald king. So this movie is automatically skyrocketed into God-worthy just because he's in it. He is the best part of this movie. I love David Cross so much. Now, in December 2010, Megamind was released to the public, and that day our society was truly blessed. And this is because we were given the promotion for the bald lifestyle, and it is truly what the bald community deserved. And I think it's time that we discuss the plot of this movie so that we can really see why it is so incredibly breathtaking. The movie begins with Megamind giving us a timeline of his life as well as his Joker backstory. Now, his life starts out with his home planet being destroyed and his parents having to send him away for his own safety. Now, you think that's bad enough, right? Like, being sent away from your home planet, right? But this is about to get so much worse for this poor child. Like, I can't. This bald king is about to be put through so much pain and suffering at the hands of the hell people.
But I will stomp your head in if you start a fight with
Megamind.
you thug scum.
Now basically, baby Megamind is put into this kind of rocket ship type situation he's got going on. I don't really know what this is, but he's basically put in it by his parents and he's sent zooming through the sky. I also think it's a bit suspicious that his parents just basically like kicked him off their planet and like just basically told him to piss off. But anyway, so he's got a lot of abandonment issues, if you will. Now basically, as baby Megamind is zooming through space, he is then met with another rocket ship of another child who's also been sent away by his parents, and this child has a full head of hair. Now this is where the beef between these two children is established. The beef between these two individual people is established, right? And it is basically a war between the hair and the hairless, if you will. And this is because Metro Man, who is the man with the hair, the child with the hair, is an absolute snake. This man needs to be stopped. This man needs to be destroyed. Like, he is the worst character. Like, I can't. Like, I'll get into this a wee bit later, right? But Metro Man is like the worst character. But anyway. Now we then see that because this other child has scalped Megamind's rocket out of the way, he's sent into the direction of a prison. It's just so crazy how we just send bald people to jail for no reason. Like, what the hell's up with that? Now we are basically then shown that the prisoners raised Megamind and basically adopted him and took Megamind in as their own, which is actually quite wholesome. However, we are then shown that Metro Man basically grows up in a very wealthy house. He's very spoiled, but also he has no love from his father, so you know, he has a lot of baggage as well, but you know, he kind of deserves it because he's the absolute worst character in this movie. Like, my god. However, the prison hosts decide that he's old enough that he should be going to school. He shouldn't really be hanging about with, you know, degenerates and criminals. It's a bit weird for a child. So they send him to school. And you know, some people would argue that being sent to school is worse than staying in prison, you know. And this is where he is met again with Metro Man. Now, we are then shown that Megamind is bullied and degraded by his classmates as well as Metro Man just because he's bald. Just because he's a bald man, they basically treat him like he's a bad kid, like he's a bad person and that he's evil. And so Megamind decides that, you know, the only thing that he's good at is being evil, so he decides to just become the best at being evil. And this is where his Joker backstory truly begins. This is where he becomes the saltiest hoe to ever live, if you will. Now, the fact that Megamind as a child figured that being bad was the only thing that he was any good at basically established the fact that Megamind was going to be the villain and Metro Man was going to be the hero, and that's basically their dynamic their whole lives. And they grow up basically where Metro Man is the hero of the city while Megamind is the villain of the city, and that's just their dynamic for the beginning of the movie. We are then shown Megamind as an adult in prison still. You know, this man has not escaped prison. He tries to convince the warden that he's a good hoe now and that he's basically ready to be let into society again. However, the warden basically tells him to shut up and to silence himself and is having absolutely none of it. Now, the warden basically tells Megamind that Metro Man sent him a present, which is a watch, and instead of giving Megamind the watch, he decides to just keep it for himself because he is a dumb, selfish man. And, you know, this man has hair, so of course he's a dumb, selfish man because, you know, all people with hair are the worst. Now, while this is going on, we are basically shown that there is a big celebration in the city as they honour Metro Man for saving them with his big muscles and that, with a museum that is dedicated to him. And this has been reported on by two of the other main characters in this movie, Roxanne and Hal. Basically, Roxanne is like a reporter and Hal is her cameraman, and that's their dynamic. It is then established that Hal is down bad for Roxanne and is in fact a simp, which is very, very sad. Now, while Roxanne and Hal are reporting on this story, you know, just thrashing about having a grand old time, Roxanne is then kidnapped by Minion in their invisible car because, you know, Megamind is so iconic that he has an invisible car, like what an absolute king. And basically they drive off to go and pick up Megamind. Now, basically we are brought back to the prison where, plot twist, the watch that the warden stole from Megamind basically is a device that changes your identity. It gives you a disguise of another person, if you will. And Megamind basically timed it so that it would specifically at that time turn the warden into Megamind. And so when this happens, all of the guards chase this Megamind because they think that that is the real prisoner, when in fact it is the warden. So Megamind hides behind the chair, and when they bring the warden disguised as Megamind back into Megamind's prison cell, Megamind steals the watch and runs away. And this is when we are given this very, very iconic scene with Megamind escaping from the prison. Megamind is then reunited with Minion and they drive off with their kidnapped victim. We are then taken back to Metro Man's celebration as he thrashes about the stage and assaults some babies. Now, I also want to point out in this scene, right, like as Metro Man is kind of just thrashing about and giving his wee speech and stuff, this woman like grabs and kisses his foot, and I just want to ask, like, right, like does DreamWorks just have like a thing with feet or something? Like, are they like Dan Schneider? I don't really know. It's just a bit suspicious if you ask me. But I also think it's really cute that they are given representation for not only the ball community but also the feet lovers of the world, you know. It's very iconic. Now, while this is happening, Megamind and Minion arrive in their lair. They have a very wholesome time, like basically Megamind is like looking at all the stuff that he missed while he was in prison. Now, Roxanne then wakes up and her and Megamind have a wee back and forth and basically have a wee bickerment, if you will. And this is where Roxanne throws so much shade towards Megamind and basically calls him predictable. She might as well have just spat in his face and slapped him silly, to be honest, right? They would have hurt less. Now, this is kind of planting the seed in the viewer's head that this point is probably going to get brought back up later, which absolutely does, so just keep this in mind, right? However, we are then brought back to the celebration and Megamind interrupts it, and this is where the two plot points intercept. Now, Metro Man and Megamind have a wee back and forth and Metro Man goes to save Roxanne. However, unlike most times, Megamind is one step ahead and sends Metro Man to the wrong location because he's such a king, he's such a bald king. Now, this allows Megamind to go forward with his evil plan, which is something that he hasn't really been able to do previously, like while he's been doing like his other evil plans and stuff. He never usually gets this far, but for some reason his plan is just going swimmingly. I've never said that phrase in my whole life, right, but I've said it today, so you know. But his plan has gone very, very well and he's very shook by this, but he's gone with it, he's having fun, he's having a grand old time. However, there is a point during the plan where it kinda seems as though hope is lost for Megamind and that he is going to lose. However, big big plot twist here. It is then revealed that the building that Metro Man is in, that he thought Megamind was in, is basically covered in copper. Copper is basically Metro Man's biggest weakness. This is news to Megamind, who had absolutely no idea about this, right? Because Metro Man can't escape from this layer because of all the copper, Megamind goes forward with his plan and blows Metro Man up. And you know what? Somebody had to do it, to be honest. He was a degenerate and he had to be stopped. And Megamind did what had to be done. What an absolute king. He basically blows him up and everybody is shook to their calls because this is the first time that Megamind has ever won. Nobody knows really how to deal with it. Even Megamind is shook. Now, Megamind and his homies then take over Metro City, and the police, despite their best efforts, cannot stop this bald god from doing what he needs to do. Megamind is now the bald, evil overlord. What an absolute icon. However, after some very cute and wholesome scenes between him and his homies, it is then revealed that Megamind is very depressed. And this is because, you know, even though he has everything he could ever possibly want, he has no purpose in his life anymore. This is so sad. Now, this is when it is revealed that Megamind low-key misses Metro Man, even though Metro Man was like the worst character to ever be created in cinematic history. He misses him because Metro Man gave him a purpose of trying to defeat him every time, and because Metro Man is no longer about, like, Megamind basically has absolutely no life purpose, and this is very, very deep. I think we can all relate to this when our evil nemesis dies. We are then shown Roxanne and Hal, who are basically reporting on the state of Metro City since Megamind took over it, but they're also talking about the death of Metro Man. And after they finish reporting, Hal begins to act like a simp again because, you know, this man has no self-control. He is then rejected by Roxanne though, and this makes him very, very salty, and he acts like an absolute Discord mod and runs away. Now, after Hal drives away, Roxanne basically decides he's going to basically take a little stroll into Metro Man's museum and just see what's up, just see what's going on, you know. However, Megamind also had the same idea and is also at the museum as he misses his homie Metro Man as well. This is when we are introduced to the character of Bernard, who basically tells Roxanne that the museum is closing and that she basically has to piss off. So Roxanne is like, right, cool, whatever, my guy, and is about to leave when she hears Megamind talking to the museum, essentially. Like, he's basically talking to the museum like it is Metro Man, and Roxanne goes to investigate who this is, and she's like calling for them and just saying like, hello, like, who is this? However, as Roxanne is basically calling out for Megamind, it is then revealed that Megamind is actually planning on blowing up this museum. So he freaks out and is like, oh no, like, there's people in here, I need to move fast. And so he basically decides to try and escape because he doesn't want to get caught. So he basically runs in the other direction and bumps into Bernard. Now, Megamind freezes Bernard and basically uses the watch from earlier in the movie to basically turn himself into Bernard so that Roxanne doesn't see that it's actually him that's there, so that he doesn't get big trouble from her, you know. So basically Megamind disguised as Bernard basically greets Roxanne and is like, hello my guy, how are you? And they decide to get into the lift because Megamind knows that this place is about to blow up, so he's like, right Roxanne, we need to get out of here, you know. Now, as they're going downstairs, Roxanne basically gives Megamind this idea that she thinks that somebody else will stand up to Megamind and that there will be like another hero that will rise, essentially. And this gives Megamind the brilliant idea that he isn't going to just sit around and wait for a superhero to come and fight him so that he has a purpose. He's going to make his own superhero to give his life purpose again. His plan is basically that he's going to give a random stranger Metro Man's powers and train them on how to become a hero and how to basically defeat Megamind, and this will conclude with a big showdown with them, which will give his life purpose again. Now, basically Megamind creates this concoction that when given to someone or when shot at someone, it will give them the powers that Metro Man had. However, as Megamind and Minion are basically talking about this new concoction that Megamind has made, this new invention, if you will, Bernard's phone rings and Megamind basically remembers that he's still got this man's belongings. Like, he basically just robbed this man. This man is still frozen, by the way. I think the guy who, like, the original Bernard is like dead because like that museum blew up and that man was still in it. So, you know, I think, you know, it's a bit deep into it, but anyway. So Megamind basically still has Bernard's belongings and he has his phone and stuff, and when he answers the phone, it is revealed to be Roxanne. Now, Roxanne thanks him for giving her hope that someone will rise up against Megamind. However, she also tells Megamind that she has in fact found Megamind's secret hideout. Now, this causes Megamind to freak the hell out, right? Because he's like, how did you find my secret hideout? And she's like, oh, it was very obvious and whatever. And they have a wee back and forth, and it is also revealed that Hal is also there because they're going to like report on it. So Megamind starts freaking out and basically tries to convince her to piss piss off, and she's like, no, look, I found the entrance, because she's a dumb bitch, because she just can't keep to her own self and just mind her own business. Leave Megamind alone. Stop being such a Megamind hater just because he's bald and you're not. Like, my god, leave the bald man alone. Now, Roxanne goes into the secret hideout while Hal stays outside waiting for all like the simp he is. This causes Megamind to basically panic and turn himself into Bernard again, and he greets Roxanne as she walks into the building. She then basically uncovers Megamind's biggest secrets and stuff, and you know, is like trying to figure out what his big master plan is. And Megamind is trying to get her to leave, and she's not really having it. Like, she's like, you know, we need to figure this out, Bernard. And Megamind is like shaking and crying. He's like, just get the hell out of my house, piss off. And she's just not taking the hint. Poor behaviour, if you ask me. Megamind then signals to Minion that he basically needs to turn the intruder alarm on, and when he does this, all of Megamind's like wee robot homies come out and chase Roxanne and Megamind disguised as Bernard. This causes Megamind disguised as Bernard and Roxanne to get separated, and when she turns around to run after him, essentially, Megamind is back to his normal self, and they have a wee back and forth, and Roxanne is basically holding this gun that's going to turn one of these civilians into a superhero, and she's pointing it at Megamind, like basically threatening to shoot him, which I think is quite inappropriate. Like, you broke into this man's house and you're threatening to shoot him, like what the hell, my guy. Now basically, as they're fighting over this ray with the Metro Man power inside it, it accidentally goes off, and basically the concoction that Megamind made goes through this vent, and it leads to outside where Hal is looking for Roxanne, and he's basically scalped right across the face with it, and he has been chosen by the gods, by the bald gods, to be the new Metro Man. Now, Roxanne and Megamind, who's now disguised as Bernard again, escape from Megamind's lair and run into Hal, who is dealing with being shot in the face. However, this scene also establishes the fact that Roxanne is a simp for Bernard, who is actually just Megamind. Now, Roxanne then takes Hal home because, you know, he's just been shot in the face. He's a wee bit upset about it, like rightfully so, like my god. And Megamind and Minion have to basically follow them because he has Metro Man's powers, so they have to go and follow through with this plan. Decide to do a background check on this man who is going to be the new hero that Megamind is going to be fighting against. And they basically established that Hal is a bit of a loser. He's basically the definition of a Discord mod, you know. He's got absolutely no life. Now, in this scene, it's also established that there is like a reverse for this situation. So the ray, like the gun that shot Hal, there is like a reverse button on it so that it can take the power out of him. But Megamind decides that he wants to keep Hal as the new superhero and that he thinks this is going to be a good idea. He keeps this gun basically in the invisible car. So this is just important to bring up because later on it will be important. So just keep this in mind, right? Now, they go into Hal's house and basically assault him. As Hal is knocked out, Megamind and Minion disguise themselves as hero trainers to help Hal on his transformation into Big Yummy Man. Now, when Hal wakes up from his slumber, Megamind tells him that he was sent here to be a hero to battle Megamind. We're then shown a cute wee montage of Hal basically learning how to use these new powers and like thrashing about and just being a wee goofy guy, you know. We're also shown that while training Hal, Megamind basically keeps disguising himself as Bernard and is going on dates with Roxanne. And we're shown both the progression of Hal's abilities to be a superhero as well as Roxanne and Megamind's relationship. We then cut back to Megamind giving Hal his superhero costume and gives him the name Titan. Megamind then tells Hal that in order to start his superhero era, if you will, he has to save a hoe that he's very, very into. However, this is setting up some drama for later, as Hal is interested in the same hoe that Megamind is interested in. It is then established that Megamind and Titan will have their first battle the next day, and Megamind is very excited about this because he's finally got his purpose back. Now, Minion, while trying to fit Megamind into his evil suit for the fight the next day, basically establishes that Megamind is in fact a simp for Roxanne and tries to convince Megamind that this is an incredibly bad idea. Minion snaps at Megamind and tells him that bad guys don't get the girl, and Megamind, in a state of frustration, says that he doesn't want to be the bad guy anymore. This is the turning point in this movie, as this bald king decides that being bad isn't that great and that he doesn't have to be defined by what he has been called his whole life. This is so deep. This movie is so deep. I can't. Now, this leaves Minion shook to his core and they argue, which results in the minion leaving Megamind. Now, Megamind then decides to turn himself into Bernard again to go and meet with Roxanne. While this is happening, however, Roxanne finally meets Hal in his new form as Titan. He then tries to woo her, and she is having absolutely none of it. She basically tells him to piss off, and he is like, no sweaty, you're coming with me. Titan then reveals himself to be Hal to Roxanne, and she is flabbergasted, but she's also very pissed off, and she tells him that she will never be with him and that she doesn't want to be in a relationship with him. This is the beginning of Hal's Joker backstory, as he goes from being, you know, an average Discord mod to being a very, very salty Discord mod, which is never good for anybody. We are then met with Megamind, who is disguised as Bernard, waiting for Roxanne at their date. She's late because of the shenanigans that happened with her and Titan. She basically tells Megamind, disguised as Bernard, about what she thinks Megamind's new plan is and how she thinks that it has something to do with Titan and stuff like that. Megamind basically just tells her to shut up and to just focus on their date because they're here to have a cute wee time and she's ruining it. And so Roxanne is like, right, okay, my guy, and they have, you know, a wee chat and they're having a lovely old time. Megamind asks Roxanne if she would still like him if he was bald and blue, and she says yes because she doesn't think it matters about what you look like. It matters about your actions and who you are as a person, and this makes him a happy guy. Now, warning for non-Christian content, this is a bit risky content, you know, like I can't, but Roxanne and Megamind as Bernard basically kiss, and as this is happening, Roxanne basically messes with Megamind's watch, and this turns him back into his original bald form, and this draws attention from absolutely everybody in the restaurant, and they're all screaming and shaking and crying violently, and this makes Roxanne aware of the fact that she's in fact kissing Megamind and not Bernard. Now, this causes Roxanne to absolutely freak out and shake and cry violently as she leaves the restaurant and leaves Megamind. Megamind then chases her and tries to convince her that she's been ridiculous and to just, you know, who cares if he's bald, it's fine. However, she tells him that she will never be with him and tells him to basically piss off and leaves him shaking and crying in the rain. Megamind then goes back to the lair and looks for Minion, but Minion is gone, and so Megamind decides that he is done with being good and that he's going to become evil again because nothing good ever comes from being the good guy, you know. That was quite deep. I didn't mean for that to be so deep, like damn. Oh my god. He gets all dressed up in his snazzy wee evil look and prepares to fight Titan. Megamind then starts to destroy the city and starts screaming and shouting for Titan. However, Titan is nowhere to be seen, and Megamind is like confused and waits for hours for him to show up, and he doesn't. Megamind then goes to Hal's apartment and finds him being a very epic gamer. Megamind then confronts him on why he didn't show up to the fight. However, as Megamind is like shouting at Titan and basically is like confronting him, he sees that Titan has used his power for bad as he's stolen a lot of money and like items and stuff, and this makes Megamind like really annoyed because he's like why are you were supposed to be using your powers for good, you absolute whore. Now, Titan basically tells Megamind that he doesn't want to be a hero because being a hero is boring while being evil is fun, which, you know, fair enough, my guy, fair enough, man. Titan tries to convince Megamind that they should team up and unleash the greatest level of evilness upon the land. However, Megamind shouts at him and states that he created him to become a hero and not to become a villain because he's the villain. Now, Titan tells him to silence himself and to stop saying such nonsense because his space dad gave him the powers and not Megamind. However, Megamind then throws one big plot twist Titan's way and transforms himself into his space dad and then into Bernard, and Titan gets salty because Megamind has not only tricked him into being his son but has also stolen his hoe. So Titan is absolutely shook to his core and he's very salty. Because of the anger that is boiling within Titan, him and Megamind begin to fight. Now, Titan then gets a hold of Megamind and Megamind basically tells him that he's done really well in this fight and he's very proud of him, and that now Titan basically just has to take Megamind to jail so that they can go back to the way things were with him and Metro Man. However, Titan isn't having any of this and becomes enraged. Now, Megamind manages to escape from Titan's grasp as Titan tries to kill him, and his little robot homies help him run away from Titan, and Titan just begins to chase him throughout the whole city. Now, as it looks like Megamind is about to be squished, Titan is then trapped by his robot homies in this kind of contraption made of copper, because if you remember back at the beginning of the movie, it's kind of established that copper is Metro Man's weakness. However, plot twist of the century, Titan manages to escape from this and begins to chase Megamind yet again. We are then shown Megamind, who has fled the scene and has ran to Roxanne's apartment, and he basically tells her that Titan has turned evil and that because she knows him and like she's like his homie and stuff, she should come and help him, and she tells him that she doesn't care and that he should just piss off and leave her alone. He then begs her to help him, and she caves in and lets Megamind into her house. They establish that they need to learn as much about Metro Man as they can to see if he had like any other weaknesses, or like to see if like there was anything that could maybe stop him. And so Megamind asks Roxanne if Metro Man had like another hideout, or just a secret hideout that nobody knew about, and Roxanne is like, yes my guy, and they decide to drive to Metro Man's old hideout. Now Roxanne takes Megamind to Metro Man's hideout, which is actually the school that he and Megamind attended when they were kids. They enter the old school and see that Metro Man is very much still alive and that this bitch faked his own death. Now as this is happening, we are then shown Titan, who is unleashing hell upon Metro City. We then cut back to Metro Man, who tells Megamind and Roxanne that he just didn't want to be a hero anymore, so he faked his death. He then also tells Megamind that he actually lied about copper being one of his weaknesses, like just so that he could use that as an excuse for his death. So that explains why the copper machine thing didn't work on Titan. Now Megamind and Roxanne beg Metro Man to come back and help. He tells them no, and he tells them to piss off out his house. And so Roxanne tries to convince Megamind that it's up to him to be the good guy and to stop Titan, but Megamind basically is like, no, I have to go back to prison now, and Megamind goes back to prison because he is a smooth criminal. Now as there is no one to stand up to Titan, all the citizens decide that they have no choice but to leave Metro City. Now Roxanne then tries to reason with Titan, but he is having absolutely none of it and decides to kidnap her. We are then shown Megamind in prison, just switching through the channel, when he basically sees a message from Titan, who is shown to have kidnapped Roxanne and is basically calling for Megamind to come and fight him. And this causes Megamind to basically try and convince the warden to let him out, and the warden is like, no bitch, you are a criminal, you need to stay in jail, you absolute degenerate. And Megamind basically gives this wee speech about how he's sorry and how he didn't mean it, and like he had a hard childhood, you know, he was abused as a child, and like this isn't his fault. And see, because he's such a bold king, the warden lets him escape. However, plot twist, it's actually Minion who held the whole speech and forgives Megamind. However, as it seems like there's no hope left for this city, Megamind emerges from the darkness in a fantastic light show, I must say. Megamind and Titan then have a big fight, and Megamind saves Roxanne. However, it looks as though Titan has won this war, as he throws a bus at Roxanne and tries to kill her. However, plot twist, Metro Man returns and saves her. Metro Man and Titan then fight as Roxanne goes to help Megamind. However, plot twist again, it's not actually Megamind, but instead is Minion disguised as Megamind. The plot twist in this movie just keep coming, and they are just splendid, they are spectacular. It is then revealed by Minion that Metro Man is actually Megamind in disguise, like with the watch and stuff. I just want to point out the fact that Metro Man didn't actually return to save the city, because Metro Man is again the worst character. Megamind disguised as Metro Man then banishes Titan from the land, and Titan basically flies away, and it seems like he's away for good, and that's the end of that. And he goes to see Roxanne, who messes with the watch to show the city that it was in fact Megamind who saved them and not Metro Man, giving that bald king the praise and the glory that he deserves. However, after seeing this, Titan returns to fight Megamind once and for all. However, during this fight, Megamind basically finds his invisible car that, you know, I mentioned it earlier in the movie, that had like the ray that could basically take Titan's powers away. He basically gets into the car and finds this gun and is like basically about to use it when Titan drags Megamind out of the car and throws Megamind into the sky with the gun. The theatrics in this movie are groundbreaking. Now, as Megamind's fallen, he's trying to catch this gun. Megamind manages to land safely into this fountain. He then reverses Titan's powers and establishes himself as the hero. Megamind and his robot homies then rebuild the city, and the new Megamind museum is revealed, as well as his relationship with Roxanne, which is very wholesome, very cute. Now, the ending of this movie shows that bald people are in fact the superior beings within our society, and they then dance to Michael Jackson. You know, it's the perfect way to end this movie, you know, like bald people and Michael Jackson, like what more could you ask for? This movie was a huge success for DreamWorks, as most of their films are. It managed to gain a total of $321.9 million worldwide. The movie debuted at number 1 in the box office and stayed there the week after. It also had the 5th highest opening weekend for an animated movie in 2010, which is very iconic behaviour if you ask me. Now, unlike most movies that I actually talk about on this channel, this movie didn't actually have a lot of mixed reviews. Like, most of the reviews for this movie are actually really really positive. Most critics and people tended to be huge fans of this movie, and can you blame them? A movie that glorifies the bald gods, like, it was bound to be successful. The biggest criticism for this movie was the fact that the plot was sometimes quite predictable, because it's like the kind of anti-hero type plotline. But you know, again, those people who have this opinion are just uncultured bald people haters and must be stopped immediately. Now, the movie was nominated for many awards, but it actually only won 2 awards, which I think is incredibly rude within itself. But anyway, the fact that it never won like best animated film is an absolute abomination from the Academy. Yet again, another absolute cinematic masterpiece from DreamWorks has been sidelined and looked over, glossed over if you will, by the Academy. It's absolutely disgraceful behaviour, and also yet again bald people have been pushed aside. It's absolutely disgraceful behaviour. Now, Megamind is responsible, like most DreamWorks movies are, for some very iconic memes that have impacted internet culture in a very significant way. For example, some moments from the movie have went viral on platforms such as TikTok and stuff, such as this scene of Megamind escaping from the prison, where people will replace the sound that Megamind makes while he's running backwards with like sounds like this, for example.
I'll always be a villain.
There's also this scene where Titan says, "I wouldn't say free, just under new management," like when he's talking to the townspeople about how he's going to be the new villain instead of Megamind. Now, that video has went viral on TikTok, but also just that audio where people kind of replace it with their own kind of scenarios and such has went viral on TikTok, like it's like a trend on TikTok. However, I think one of the most impactful and most important memes that come from this movie is this image here, which basically comes from the scene where Megamind is trying to convince Roxanne to help him fight Titan, and basically people use this picture and put the caption "no bitches" on it. It's so iconic, I love it so much. Now, this image and the message behind it has had such an incredibly huge impact on not only Twitter and internet culture, but on our society as a whole. Like, you can't go anywhere without somebody putting this picture in your mentions. It's crazy. However, although the movie is very iconic and important to internet culture, I think not bringing up the fact that this movie has given a voice to the bald community would be just belittling just how important and how impactful this absolute masterpiece truly is. These hellish gods have been shown in a light to the public that they weren't before, all thanks to Megamind. In conclusion, Megamind is one of the greatest pieces of media that I have ever had the pleasure of watching with my own 2 eyes. From the characters to the story to the fact that it gives such a huge voice to the helpless people of our society is truly incredible and spectacular, which is why Megamind is an absolute godsend of a movie.